We are on Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph at the two dots. Shvuas ha-pikadon keitzad tein li pikadon sheish li biyadcha v'chulei. The subject of our discussion in this last part of this parak is the Mishnah had indicated that there are times when a person could be liable for multiple violations, i.e. multiple karbanos, because when he denies a claim, he denies multiple claims. And there are two ways to do that. One way is if there are multiple claimants, you got a bunch of guys, each one of them comes over to him at the same time and says, where's the cash that you owe me? Because he's got multiple creditors. And if he takes a shavua and he denies owing all of them collectively, and then it turns out that he lied, so he only has to bring one carbon. That's what the Mishnah had said. But if he said, I don't owe you, lo lach, v'lo lach, v'lo lach, v'lo lach, so then if he lied, he's chayiv, for each one, he's got to bring a carbon. So that's what the Mishnah had said. And by the way, there's other ways that you can be liable for multiple, even if there's only one claimant. Let's say the one claimant has multiple claims. He says, you owe me wheat, you owe me barley, you owe me spelt. If the guy says, I owe you nothing, and he lies, one carbon. If he says, I don't owe you barley, I shvua, I don't owe you wheat, I don't owe you barley, I don't owe you spelt, so then because he's specified, he's liable for multiple karbanos. So, Tanu Rabbanan. So, there's a brisa, it's a little bit cryptic, because in our Mishnah, we don't have the opinions of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda listed explicitly. We just have a Tanakama. Usually Stam Mishnah is like Reb Meir, so we're assuming that our Mishnah is like Reb Meir. But let's see what he says. Kolal eino chayev ela echas, parat chayev al kol echas ve'echas divrei Rabbi Meir. If a person groups the claim together, if the accused groups his counterclaim together, and he lies, then he's only liable for one carbon. If he specifies, then he's chayiv for each and every one. That's really what our Mishnah had said. Mm-hmm. What is bizarre is Rabbi Yehuda's response to that. Rabbi Yehuda omer shavua lo lach v'lo lach v'lo lach chayav l'kol echas ve'echas, which seems to be exactly what Reb Meir was saying. So it seems like Rabbi Yehuda is redundant. He says if a person takes a shavua, not to you, not to you, not to you, and not to you, so then he's chayiv for each and every one. That seems to be what Rabbi Meir had said. That's what our Mishnah says. So what is Rabbi Yehuda adding? We're going to see in a moment. Then we have Rabbi Eliezer, who was actually cited in our Mishnah, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And Rabbi Eliezer says, lo lach v'lo lach v'lo lach shavua chayev al kol echas ve'echas. You have to conclude your statement with the word shavua in order to be chayev for multiple violations. And Reb Shimon Omer, Ad sheyomer shavua l'chol echas ve'echas. And Reb Shimon is even more machmir, and he says that in order to be liable for each violation, you have to say the word shavua together with each person's claim. In other words, a shavua not to you, a shavua not to you, a shavua not to you, etc. Omer Rav Yehuda, Omer Shmuel. So that's the end of the brisa. Now let's see how Shmuel analyzes it. Klalo shel Rabbi Meir, prato shel Rabbi Yehuda. Klalo shel Rabbi Yehuda, prato shel Rabbi Meir. Again, a little bit strange, but what essentially what Shmuel is saying is, what Rabbi Meir considers to be a general clause, the word general over here means that he's only liable for one carbon because he's generalized everything together, he's aggregated everything together, is considered to be a prat for Rabbi Yehuda, where you specify each claimant. So therefore, what is for Rabbi Meir only one carbon will be multiple carbons for Rabbi Yehuda, and klal shel Rabbi Yehuda, pratal shel Rabbi Meir, and what will only be one carbon for Rabbi Yehuda will be multiple karbanos for Rabbi Meir. So we'll explain that in a minute. And v'Rabbi Yochanan Amar hakol modim b'velo lach shehu prat lo nechluku ela b'lo lach she Rabbi Meir omer prat v'Rabbi Yehuda omer klal. So Rabbi Yochanan says, no, I disagree with Shmuel. I hold that in a situation where you say lo lach, meaning that you separate each lo lach with the letter vav, then that letter Vav can sometimes be a conjunction, and it could sometimes be a disjunction. It could be a separator also. So Rabbi Yochanan says everyone agrees that when you divide each lo lach with the letter Vav, so then each statement stands unto itself, and therefore it's a prat statement. You're separating out, and therefore there's multiple violations. The machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is if you say lo lach, lo lach, lo lach without the letter Vav. Is that considered to be one joint statement, or is it broken down into the individual parts? So the machlokas now turns out to, between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, turns out to be as follows. According to Shmuel, whatever Rabbi Meir holds to be separate, Rabbi Yehuda holds to be joint. And whatever Rabbi Yehuda holds to be separate, Rabbi Meir holds to be joint. So, if we saw what Rabbi Yehuda says, so according to Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda says the Vav separates the claims. So what does that mean? That according to Rabbi Meir, the Vav is a conjunction and aggregates everything together. And just the opposite according to Rabbi Meir. The letter Vav joins everything together, and without the Vav, it separates. So that's the way Shmuel understands it. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees, and Rabbi Yochanan says no. According to Rabbi Meir, it doesn't matter whether there's a Vav or whether there's no Vav. It's always separated. And it's only according to Rabbi Yehuda that you need the letter Vav to separate, and without the letter Vav, it's a klal. It's a klal statement. So ve'ezehu klalo shel Rabbi Meir. So according to this, where we said that according to Rabbi Meir, it doesn't matter whether you said lolach or vilolach, it's always separated. So what is an aggregate statement? What is a joint statement for Rabbi Meir? Only when you say shavua she'en lachem biyadi. Only when you make the most joint statement, which is I don't owe anything to any of you. So b'mai kamiflagi, Shmuel diek mibraisa v'Rabbi Yochanan diek mimasnisan. The machlokas is based on inferences from the verbiage, respectively, of the Mishnah and the Brisa that we just cited. And Shmuel looks more at the Brisa for his inference, and Rabbi Yochanan looks more at the Mishnah for his inference. Shmuel diek mibraisa. He looks at the Brisa and says as follows: Look, mitakomer Rabbi Yehuda vilolach prata havi mechlal deshami leRabbi Meir da'amar klala havi. So Shmuel looks at it like this. He says Rabbi Yehuda objects to Rabbi Meir on the letter Vav. Vilo, says Rabbi Yehuda, that's a prat. So that implies that according to Rabbi Meir, that must be a klal. Va'amarle Rabbi Yehuda prata havi. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you hold that that's a klal, Rabbi Meir. I hold that that's a prat, that it's separated out. And Rabbi Yochanan Amar to Ravayla Rabbi Meir prata havi. And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, that's not how you read the Brisa. That according to Rabbi Meir, both with a Vav and without a Vav, it's separated out. Va'amarle Rabbi Yehuda bivilo lach modina lach, below lach paligna lach. And Rabbi Yehuda is just coming to tell him, listen, I agree that if it's with a Vav, then it is separated out. But if it's without a Vav, it's a joint statement and there's only one violation. So that's the way Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan look at the Brisa respectively. Ushmuel ad da'odi le'oduye liflogale ifluge. And Shmuel's objection to Rabbi Yochanan's interpretation of the Brisa is, if you're saying that Rabbi Yehuda is agreeing with Rabbi Meir, and he's saying, you, Rabbi Meir, hold that any time you separate it out with a Vav or without a Vav, it's a prat statement, why then are you only saying what you agree with Rabbi Meir about? And say, I agree with you that the Vav, when it's with the Vav, it's a separated out statement. If you want to argue with Rabbi Meir, instead of saying what you agree upon, you should have said what you disagree on. And therefore, the whole Brisa is malformed according to your interpretation, Rabbi Yochanan. V'Rabbi Yochanan diek mi masnisin. So that's the back and forth between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan on the Brisa. Now let's look at the back and forth between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan on the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? Midikamer Rabbi Meir Shavua she'en lachem biyadi klala havi michlal develolach prata havi deisal kadaitach velolach klala hava adamashmalan Shavua she'en lachem biyadi nashmeinan Shavua lolach velolach kol shekain Shavua she'en lachem biyadi. The argument that Rabbi Yochanan makes based on our Mishnah is, what did Rabbi Meir in our Mishnah state is a joint statement for which there's only one violation when he says, I don't owe any of you anything. Ein lachem biyadi klum. I don't owe any of you anything. That's the way our Mishnah had stated, is a general statement for which there's only one violation. Now, if indeed Rabbi Meir holds, like you are suggesting, Shmuel, that when you say lolach, 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 that's also called a general statement, then it should have, that according to you, Shmuel, vilolach is also a joint statement. So then the Mishnah should have said a bigger chiddush. It should have said, for sure, vilolach is a general statement, and surely I would know that when I say one statement of I don't know any of you anything, that would for sure be a general statement. But the fact that the Mishnah says that the only general statement according to Reb Meir is I don't know any of you anything, means that vilolach, even with the letter vav, is a prat statement that separates everything else out. Ushmuel Omar kol haomer vilolach kaomer shvua she'en lechem biyadi dami. So Shmuel's response to that is no. The Mishnah is basically saying anytime you make an encompassing statement, either I don't know any of you anything, or vilolach, 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 because the conjunction conjoins everything together, it's really the same thing. It's a general statement, it's a klal statement, and there's only one violation. So now we're going to challenge Shmuel based on the language of our Mishnah. Tanan, lolach, vilolach, vilolach. Our Mishnah says explicitly that a prat statement for which there are multiple violations is if I say lolach, vilolach, vilolach, using the letter vav. According to you, Shmuel, that's a klal statement, not a prat statement. So how do you reconcile the Mishnah? So tani lolach. So Shmuel says the Tana of this Mishnah was not so precise, and really just take out the letter vav, and therefore it's lolach, lolach, lolach. That's the prat statement. But if you have the letter vav, it's a klal statement. Tashma, tainli pikadon ususumes yad vegozel va'aveda. Later on in the Mishnah, when the claimant says to the accused, give me the pikadon, the article that I left for you for safekeeping. Give me the tesumes yad, the object that you took for yourself. Give me the gezel, the item that you stole. Give me the aveda, my lost object that you have in your possession. And in there, you're chayiv multiple violations, even though the letter vav conjoins them. Again, a kasha on Shmuel. So tani tesumes yad gezel va'aveda. He says the same thing. Take out the vav. Tashma tein lichitun usornik bekusmin. Next part of our Mishnah says that when the claimant says, give me wheat and barley and spelt, and the guy says, I don't owe you wheat and barley and spelt, using the conjunction, that's considered to be a prat statement for multiple violations. Again, a kasha on Shmuel. So tani soren kusmin. So again, take out the vav. So the Gemara's question is, wait a minute, Shmuel, you're stretching the credulity of your statement. V'hai tana kol hachi shabish tani va'azil? Is our Tana so inaccurate, so sloppy, that he's going to make so many mistakes of putting the letter vav when it doesn't belong there? Elohamani rebihi to omar loshna kizayis kizayis, v'loshna kizayis ukizayis pratahavi. So Shmuel will tell you the answer is that it's a machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi. Our Mishnah goes like Rabbi, who says, now it's a totally different subject, not having to do with Shavuos, but it has to do with zvachim. That if a person is shechting a korban, and while he's shechting it, he has the thought that he's going to eat a kazayas of the meat at the improper time, and another kazayas of the meat at an improper place. So according to Rebbe, there's multiple violations regardless of whether your thought was kazayas or kazayas kazayas. The letter vav, according to Rebbe, it doesn't make a difference, is immaterial. That's right. So, but according to Rebbe Meir, the letter vav is a conjunction which conjoins everything together to make it a klal statement. Now, tashma, Mididei Rabbi Meir Omer, or Tashma Mididei. I think that's the way you read it. In other words, listen to a brisa where Rabbi Meir himself is quoted. Rabbi Meir Omer afilu chita usa ora vikus emeschayvel kol echas ve'echas. Rabbi Meir himself says that if a person, an accused, counterclaims and says, "I don't owe you wheat and barley and spelt," the vav does not conjoin everything together, and each one is a specific shavua, a separate shavua, and you're chayav for multiple violations. Again, it's a kasha shmuel, and here Rabbi Meir himself is saying it. So tani chita saora kusemes. So once again, Shmuel says the person quoting Rabbi Meir was not precise. Take out the letter vav. So maya afilu. Why does the language of the Bryce over there say afilu chita usara v'kusemes? It sounds like that even though you put in the vav, it's still a prat statement. Again, it's a kasha on Shmuel. So Amar Ravacha b'rei de Ravika afilu chita b'chlal chitin usara b'chal sorin v'kusemes b'chlal kusmin. No, the afilu has nothing to do with the letter vav, but rather it's telling me a chiddush that even though when I deny the claim I say I don't owe you chita, the word chita is in the singular. I didn't say I don't owe you bushels of wheat. I said I don't owe you one wheat. So you might have thought that that's not actually a denial of the claim that's made against me. The chiddush is that the word chita in singular is used by the Torah to describe multiple measures of wheat. And the same thing with barley and the same thing with spelt. So therefore, that is a bona fide denial of the claim, and if he swears falsely, he has to bring a shvuah for each one.
Why do the Mishnah have to give us two examples with the vav? I mean, because one's in Homer and one's people. What's the reason?
It's three examples that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Right. So one is multiple parties making the claim. The other one is one claimant, but multiple different kinds of halachic claims.
Yeah.
And the third one is all one claimant, same halachic claim, and just different commodities. So conceptually, you need to point them all out. Okay? So the Gemara now says, "Tein li pikadon usasum es yad gazel va'aveda sheyesh lecha biyadi chulei." So the next part of the Mishnah was where the one claimant makes four claims, where the Torah divides these things out. Give me my pikadon. Give me the thing that you laid your hands on. Give me the thing that you stole. Give me my lost item that you took. So, tein lichitenu sa'orin, amar Rabbi Yochanan pruta mikula mitzdarefes. So, if a person says, give me wheat and barley, so Rabbi Yochanan says a chiddush. Normally, in order to be liable for a korban shvuah, the denial has to be the value of a shava pruta. Rabbi Yochanan says, if, let's say, the amount that's being claimed is an aggregate of a shava pruta, but only if you put together the wheat and the barley. And the person is individually denying, I don't owe you wheat and I don't owe you barley. So you could have argued that it's two separate denials, and therefore there's no one denial of a shava pruta. Rabbi Yochanan says no, that as long as the person denies the aggregate adding up to a shava pruta, he'll be liable for a korban shvuah. He won't be liable for two karbanos in that case, but he'll still be liable to bring one korban. Now, pligi barav acha v'ravina, chad omar aprati michayev akloli lo michayev, v'chad omar akloli nomi michayev. So related to this is a machlokus between Rav Acha and Ravina. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, when you deny the claim, it would seem that you'd have to deny it in aggregate in order to be liable for denying a shava pruta. So that's one way of understanding it. But there's another way of understanding is that even if you deny it as a prat statement, each one separately, you're still going to be liable. And this leads to the machlokus between Rav Acha and Ravina as to how many karbanos you're going to have to be liable for when you deny the claim in a prat statement. What do we mean by that? If a person denies wheat, barley, and spelt as in a prat statement, how many karbanos is that?
With the vav?
It doesn't matter. We're assuming that it makes no difference now with the vav or without a vav. You say wheat, barley, spelt. 3 karbanos, right? Wheat, barley, spelt.
Right.
That's one opinion. There's a second opinion, we've seen this before, is that there's 4 karbanos, because you're really making 2 types of denial. You're denying the specifics, and you're denying the aggregate as well. So therefore, You bring 3 karbanos for the individual denials, for the prat statement, plus the shvua, which is, you've only said the word shvua once, that's the aggregate of everything that you deny, and therefore you have to bring a 4th carbon for denying the aggregate. So that's the machlokes. So the Gemara now says, "V'hatani Rabbi Chia harekan 15 chatos, v'im isa estrim havyon." But wait a minute, there's a brisa from Rabbi Chia that talks about the following case. If 5 people come over to me, and each one says, you owe me wheat, barley, and spelt, and I deny each one individually, then I owe each one, for each lie, for each claimant, I owe 3 karbanos. How many is that? 15. According to the opinion that says that there's an additional carbon for the aggregate denial, there should be 20. Because it should be 4 times 5 instead of 3 times 5. So the Gemara answers, Haitana de prati kachashiv de klali lo kachashiv. So a bit of a difficult answer, but the Gemara's answer is, this Tana was only itemizing the number of karbanos for denials of the prat, not for denials of the klal. In other words, you're right, there are 20 karbanos, but the reason why this brisa said 15 is because it was itemizing only those karbanos you have to bring for the denial of the specifics, not for the denial of the general. V'hatani Rabbi Chia harekan estrim chatos. But now let me show you an opposite brisa. This opposite brisa says that there are 20 karbanos. So doesn't that prove the other manda amar, that there's 4? So the Gemara answers, Hahia pikadon ususumas dad v'gozel va'aveda. No, because that brisa is referring to not the claim of wheat, barley, and spelt, but the next case in the Mishnah, which is where there are 4 claims of give me the pikadon, give me the tesumis yad, give me the gezel, and give me the aveda that you have in your possession. So each claimant of the 5 is claiming 4 things, and therefore the brisa says it's a total of 20. 4 times 5 is 20. So you could argue that this brisa also goes according to the one who says there's only for the specifics, not for the aggregate.
How can it be that each of these are separate components, the shirim and starf together? Either
well, that's the point.
This way.
That's the point. According to that's Rabbi Yochanan. There's a difference of opinion as to how you understand Rabbi Yochanan. Rashi speaks this out. If you understand that there's an extra liability for the aggregate denial, so then Rabbi Yochanan is covered, is mitzdarif together. If you hold that you're not liable separate for the aggregate when you're liable for the individual, so then you have to say that Rabbi Yochanan is talking about a case where the denial is, I don't owe you anything. And he doesn't specify wheat and barley. Okay. Ba'amine Rav Rav Nachman. Hayu chamisha tovin oso va'amru lo ten lanu pikadon tesumas yad v'gazel va'aveda sheish lanu biyadcha. And amr le'echad mehen shavua shein lecha biyadi pikadon tesumas yad gezel va'aveda v'lo lach v'lo lach v'lo lach v'lo lach mahu. Achada michayev. Oh, dilma akol chada v'chada michayev. So the question is like this. What happens? There are 5 claimants that come against me. Each one comes with a claim of 4 things. You owe me pikadon, an object that I left with you for safekeeping. Tesumes yad, an object that you took for yourself that belongs to me. Gezel, an item that you stole from me. An aveda, a lost item that you kept for yourself instead of returning it back to me. Each one of the 5 people makes the same claim against me, so there are a total of 20 claims. Now, when I deny the claims, what would be the halacha if I deny it as follows? I turn to the first out of the 5 and I say, I don't owe you pikadon, tesumes yad, gezel, or aveda. So I've made a prat statement. And then I turn to the second guy and I say, ditto for you. Ditto for you. Ditto for you and ditto for you. Lolach, 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 lolach. So the question is that now 20 denials? Or is it only 8 denials? 4 for the first guy, an additional 1 for each of the remaining 4. What would be the halacha? So Tashma, come and listen. The Tani Rabbi Chia harekan estrim chatos. Hey chidami. So let's go back to that brisa that we quoted a moment ago. Rabbi Chia says there are 20 karbanos you're going to have to bring in a case where there's a denial of pikadon, tesumas yad, gezel, and aveda for each one. So what's the case? Ida parish, Rabbi Chia minyana asala ashmi'inon, Elalav delo parashu shmamina pratahavi. Now, if the accused specifies to each one, I don't owe you A, B, C, and D, then obviously it would be 20, because you specified to each one, I don't owe you A, B, C, and D. Why does Rabbi Chia have to even point that out? That I know how to multiply. I don't need Rabbi Chia to tell me that. So the chiddush of Rabbi Chia must be that even though I said only the specifics to the first guy, and then I said ditto, 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 ditto to the remaining four, it counts as a specific denial, a prat denial for each of the five, and therefore there's 20 karbanos. Next. Anasta upatita es biti v'chulei. There was another case in the Mishnah where we saw a machlokus between the Chachamim and Rabbi Shimon. A man stands accused of committing rape or seduction where there is a financial penalty of 50 silver pieces according to the Torah. According to the Chachamim, if the accused swears falsely that he didn't commit rape and he doesn't owe the 50 shekels, and then it turns out he's a liar, he has to bring a korban shavuot, just like any other shavuot sapikara. However, Reb Shimon disagrees. Now, why does Reb Shimon disagree? So Rashi had taught us it's because a kanas is a penalty that is not considered to be a monetary debt. And how do I know that? Because if I confess to a crime for which there's a kanas, moda b'kanas is pater. You don't have to pay. So it can't be a true monetary debt, because if I can get out of it by confessing, it's not truly a debt. And Shavuos HaPikaron only makes me liable for a korban when there's a real monetary debt. So in cases of kanas, if I swear falsely on a kanas penalty, I don't have to bring a korban. So this is the machlokus between the Chachamim and Rabbi Shimon. So, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, my time of the Reb Shimon, hol v'ikar kanasu toveya. And that's what the Gemara really says, that Reb Shimon's reason is because the primary claim of the father whose daughter he alleges was raped is on a kanas. Now, why is the main claim on kanas? The whole claim is, the answer is because in addition to kanas, in addition to the 50 shekels, what else does a father claim? Boshes and pagam. There could be tsar as well. But certainly boshes and pagam. Boshes is humiliation, and pagam is her depreciation on the shidduch market. Those are actual priceable commodities where there is an actual generation of debt, not just the kanas. So the idea that Reb Shimon has in mind is, since the primary claim is on kanas, those things are ancillary to the primary claim of kanas. So we look at the whole thing as a kanas claim, and therefore his false oath on a kanas claim is dismissed. So Amar Rava mashal de Rabbi Shimon lamaha davar doime la adam shamer lechaver otein lechitim musar v'kusmim sheyesh libiyadcha. Amar lo shvua she'en lecha biyadi chitin v'yishtakach dechitin hu delesle hasar v'kusmin islei depoter d'chishtaba achitin akushta mishtaba. So Rava suggests that if we want to try and create an analogy to be able to better understand Reb Shimon Shita, the analogy would be where the claimant says to the accused, you owe me wheat, barley, and spelt. And the accused takes a shvua that I don't owe you wheat, period. He doesn't address the barley and the spelt. So if it turns out that he was telling the truth on the wheat, even though he still owes him for barley and spelt, since he didn't take a false shvu on the barley and spelt, he's putter. Similarly, when a person swears that I didn't rape your daughter and I don't owe you the kanas, he's not addressing the boshas and the pagam, and at least not directly, and therefore, since he's only swearing that he doesn't owe the kanas, he gets off. So the Gemara says, Amar le Abaya midame. Hasam bechitin kakafrle besorn v'kusmin lo kakafrle hacha bekula milsahu de kakafrle. So Abaya doesn't like that analogy. He says, in the case of wheat, barley, and spelt, the guy only swore that he doesn't owe wheat. He didn't address the barley and spelt. But here, if the guy's swearing, I didn't rape your daughter, he's not only denying that he owes kanas, he's also de facto denying that he doesn't owe, that he owes boshus and pagam. They're all, it's a packaged thing. That doesn't make sense. So halo damya elo la omer lech. So if you really want to make an analogy, here's the more apt analogy. Ha'omer lechavero, tein li chitin usarin v'kusmin sheyesh li biyadcha. A guy says, give me the wheat, the barley, and the spelt that you owe me. And shvua she'en lecha biyadi klal, v'ishtak achitin hu doles le hasar v'kusmin islay demichayev. He says, if the guy says, I don't owe you anything, as a counterclaim, and then it turns out that he doesn't owe wheat, but he does owe barley and spelt, and he swore falsely on that by swearing that he doesn't owe anything, so what would be the halacha? He is chayiv a korban shvua, so why? How can you tell me, if you're trying to analogize this to wheat, barley, and spelt, you're ending up with the wrong conclusion. So ela ki asa rabin amar Reb Yechon l'divrei Reb Shimon kenasu toveya v'lo boshes upagam l'divrei chachamim af boshes upagam hu toveya. So the answer is that it really depends on how you look at the primacy of the claim. What is the primary claim? According to Reb Shimon, the primary claim is on the knas and not on the boshes and pagam. And according to the chachamim, the primary claim is on the boshes and the pagam, and only in an auxiliary form is there a claim on the knas. B'mai kamiflagi, so what's the machlokes? Amar of Papa Reb Shimon Savar lo shavik inish midi de kitz v'tava midi de lo kitz. V'Rabbanan Savar lo shavik midi de chimoda be lo mifter v'tava midi de chimoda be mifter. So the machlokes is as follows. What claim has more primacy in the mind of a father of a daughter who was raped? According to Reb Shimon, there's more primacy to the claim of the 50 shekels. Why? Because I know it's a fixed amount. It's a fixed dollar amount. So if the claim is honored, I know for sure I'll get 50 shekels. If I claim primarily boshes and pagam, that's subjective. There's no fixed dollar amount on the amount that a person's entitled to for humiliation and depreciation of value on the marriage market. And so therefore, since there's no fixed amount, that's not going to be my primary claim. I'd rather focus on a claim where I know that there's a fixed amount that I'm guaranteed to get. That's Reb Shimon's sheet. And therefore, since the primary claim is on the knas, the shavua is on the knas, and therefore there's no korban. According to the chachamim, the primacy of the claim is on the boshes and the pagam. Why? Because even though there's no dollar amount, at least I know that the accused cannot get out of it in any way. Whereas by a claim of knas, the accused can easily get out of it by confessing, and then I'll be left with nothing. So I'll rather make a claim of something that I know that regardless of what he counters, whether he confesses or he denies, I know I'm going to get money, and that's why the Chachamim say that the primary claim is on the boshes and pagam, it's on actual debt, and therefore a false oath generates a korban shvua. Hadron alach shvua sapikadon. Even
if he asks for all three, is what his primary thing is, or
right? What is the primary claim? It sounds like from the Mishnah that his claim is anasta esbiti. You raped my daughter. And implied in that is all of the things that you owe me as a result of that. So that's the... Okay. Next, Shvuas HaDayanim, the whole chapter over here is about the Shvuah that we are all familiar with, a Shvuah called Moda B'Miktzah Satayna. We've seen this so many times throughout Shas. Reuven says, you owe me 100. Shimon says, I only owe you 50. So the Torah says that in that situation, Shimon has to take a shavua that he only owes 50 and doesn't owe the other 50. Why? So the Gemara explains this psychology. Ein adam meyiz panav bifnei balchova. Because what we suspect is going on is as follows. Really, Shimon owes him the full $100, but he's too embarrassed to make a bald-faced denial in full to someone who was so kind to him to lend him money. So he says, you know what? He rationalizes to himself and says, I'll deny half of it, and I'll admit to the half that I have available with me right now. I'll make a partial acknowledgement, and then when I get the rest of the money later, I'll figure out how to pay him back the balance that I owe. So because we suspect that that's what a person is doing when he's modeh b'miktzas, makes a partial admission, we make him take an oath that he taka only owes the 50. Now, this Mishnah defines what the parameters of Shvuas Modeh B'Miktzas is. Hatayna shtei kesef v'hauda b'shava pruta. So the first thing is that the minimal claim of the plaintiff has to be 2 shekels of silver, and the minimal admission of the accused has to be a pruta's worth of value. If the claim is less than 2 shekels, or if the counterclaim is less than a shava pruta, then there's no shvuas moda b'miktsas. V'im ha'hoda mimin hatayna poter. And furthermore, the counterclaim of the defendant has to be an admission of that which the plaintiff is claiming. If the counterclaim is admitting that I owe you something, but it's totally different and was not part of the claim at all, so then it's not called moda b'miktsas. So keitzad, shtei kesef li biyadcha, ein lecha biyadi ela pruta poter. The example is, if let's say the claimant says, you owe me 2 pieces of silver ingot, and the defendant says, I only owe you a piece of copper. Now, the claim was on silver, not on copper. So my admission of owing copper is not moda b'miktsas. If I had said, instead of owing you 2 pieces of silver, I owe you 1 piece of silver, that's a shvua moda b'miktsas. But if I admit owing you something totally different that you never claimed about, then that's not called moda b'miktsas. Shtei kesef upruta biyadcha ein lecha biyadi ela pruta chayav. But if a person, the claim is, you owe me 2 pieces of silver and 1 piece of copper, and the guy says, I only owe you 1 piece of copper, so then that's a classic moda b'miktsas. Mana li biyadcha ein lecha biyadi poter, mana li biyadcha ein lecha biyadi ela chamishim dinar chayav. Okay, Ruvain says you owe me 100. Shimon says I owe you 0. There's no shavua. But if Ruvain says you owe me 100 and Shimon says I only owe you 50, that's a moda b'miktsas. Mana la'aba biyadcha ein lecha biyadi ela nun dinar poter mibnei shu kimeshav aveda. Next case. We saw all of this in Bava Metzia, so I'm running through it very quickly. You should probably be familiar with a lot of this by now, hopefully. Ruvain claims not that you owe me 100, but my father lent you $100, and my father told me before he died that you owe him the money, so pay up. And the guy says, what are you talking about? Your father lent me $50. Now, here, there's no psychology of Eina Demeis Panav Bifnei Balchova, because the defendant is not facing the person who lent him the money. So there's no svara of suspicion that we should be suspicious that this guy is trying to wiggle out of the embarrassment of giving a bald-faced denial to his benefactor. So therefore, and if anything, because this son does not have any first-hand knowledge of any debt that his father had lent me the money, my volunteering of this information really makes me more of a tzaddik. I'm returning an object that without my admission, no one could have verified. So therefore, for sure I won't be liable or shvu in that case. Next, manali biyadcha. Amar lo hein. Lamachar amar lo teneu li, nesativ lach pater. So, Ruvain says on Monday, you owe me 100. Shimon says, you're right. Tuesday, Ruvain says to Shimon, give me the 100 that you owe me. Shimon says, I gave it to you. I already gave it to you. So, the halacha is that Shimon is pater, because Shimon has a valid excuse. However, ein lecha biyadi chayav. But if Shimon says on Tuesday, what $100 are you talking about? No. Now Shimon has proven himself a liar, because on Monday he admitted that he owed him $100. Tuesday he says, I never owed you any money at all. So then there's clearly a liar, and the word chayav over here, according to Rashi, means that now Shimon has to actually pay the money. We don't even give him a chance to take a shvuah. Manali biyadcha amar lo hein, al titenehu li ela be'edim, lemachar amar lo tenehu li nesativ lach, chayavim teshasarach litno be'edim. Next case. On Monday, Ruvain says, you owe me 100. Shimon says, yes, of course. Ruvain says, when you pay me back, I hereby charge you in front of these witnesses, only pay me back in front of witnesses. Shimon says, fine. Tuesday, Ruvain says, okay, here are my witnesses, pay me back. Shimon says, what are you talking about? I paid you already. Ruvain says, where are the witnesses? Shimon says, I paid you without witnesses. You don't have a right to do that, because in front of witnesses, I made the terms of the repayment that it has to be in front of witnesses, and therefore your claim has no legal standing, and therefore Shimon has to pay him the $100. Next case. Litra zav yeshli biyadcha, ein lecha biyadi ela litra kesef pater. If Ruvain says, you owe me a certain weight of gold, Shimon says, I owe you something, but it's not gold, it's silver. So that's not a partial admission, because the admission has got nothing to do with the claim, and therefore there's no shavua. Dinar zahav yesh li biyad, chein lecha biyadi ala dinar kesef utrisas upuntis upruta chayev shakol min matbeya echas. If Ruvain says, you owe me a gold coin, and here the word coin specifically is used, indicating a certain denomination of coin. Let's say he says, you owe me a tuni. And Shimon comes back and he says, I don't owe you a gold coin, I owe you a silver coin, or a copper coin, or any other denomination of currency, of any other metal. You could argue, well, no, that's not the same, that's not an admission. The answer is it is, because all currency is under the same rubric of currency. So even though the material of the currency may be different, it's all still part of the same claim, and therefore there is a mode of the mixes. He has to take a shvuah. Next, if Ruvain says, you owe me a bushel of grain, Shimon says, I owe you a half a bushel of beans. So again, there's no shvuah mode of b'mixas because the admission has nothing to do with the claim. Kur peros li biyad, cha'en lecha biyadi elalesech kitnis chayiv, sha'kitnis bichlal peros. But what if Ruvain says, you owe me a bushel of produce, generic produce. And Shimon says, I only owe you half a bushel of beans. That is a mode of b'miktsas, because beans are included in produce. Ta'ano chitin v'hodelo bisorin potter. If the claim was made for wheat, and there's a partial admission on barley, so again, there's no shvuah mode of b'miktsas, because the counterclaim has nothing to do with the claim. Rabbi Gamliel disagrees. Rabbi Gamliel says, interestingly, that I don't hold of that principle, that mode of b'miktsas only applies when the counterclaim is contained within the original claim. Even if you counterclaim something totally different from the original claim, if it's of lesser value, you're still chayiv to take a shvuah. Now, hatoin lechaver b'kadei shemen v'hodelo b'kankanim admon omer hol v'hodelo mixas mimin hatayna yishba v'chachamim omrim ein ha'odah mimin hatayna. Next case, Ruvain says, I gave you jugs of oil for safekeeping. And Shimon says, you gave me empty jugs. There was no oil. So Admon says, that is a mode of b'miktsas, because the claim was against both oil and their containers, and the mode of b'miktsas is I only owe you empty containers, not the oil. So Amar Gamliel, Roa Ani, v'chachamim omrim ein ha'odah mimin hatayna, and the chachamim disagree. And they say, no, look, the primary claim was on the oil. The jugs were only because you need something to hold the oil, right? But the primary claim was not on the jugs. And therefore, when he claims, I owe you empty jugs, that's got nothing to do with the original claim. Amar Gamliel, Roani is divrei Admon. And Gamliel says, I agree with Admon. Again, because Gamliel is of the opinion that the counterclaim does not have to be akin to the claim. To'ano kelim v'karkos v'hoda b'kelim v'kofer b'karkos v'kofer b'kelim potter. Next, if the claim that Ruvain makes against Shimon is both chattel and real estate, and there's a denial of all of the chattel or all of the real estate, but there's an admission on the other half, that's not mode of b'miktsas. Why? Because any time that there's a denial or admission on real estate, there's not going to be a shvuah, because real estate does not generate a shvuah. But hoda b'miktsas akarkos pater, and therefore, if there's only a partial admission on the real estate and a total denial on the chattel, there too, there's no mode of b'miktsas shvuah. B'miktsas hakelim chayiv shenachasim she'en lehem achrayas zokikin as anachasim sheyesh lehem achrayas lishrava alein. But if there's a claim of real estate and chattel, and Shimon acknowledges half of the chattel and denies all of the real estate, then you have a mode of b'miktsas on chattel, on kalim, and therefore you are forced to take a shavua. And once you're taking a shavua that you don't owe the other remaining claim of chattel, you can also be forced to swear that you don't owe the real estate. And that's called Gilgul Shvuah. Once you're taking a Shvuah on the chattel, you can also be forced to take a Shvuah on the real estate as well. We do not call forth a person to swear on a mode of b'miktsas if the claimant is not of stable mind or of competent mind, an insane person, a deaf mute, or a minor. Nor do we call a minor to take a Shvuah. But we do cause a person to take a shvuah to a katan and to hektish. What those words mean, we don't know yet. The Gemara will have to clarify. The Gemara now says, Heichi mashbi'in lei. What is the language of the shvuah that we place upon a person? So Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, mashbi'in oso b'shvuah hamura b'torah d'chsiv ashbi'acha b'Hashem Elokei hashamayim. That we use the same format of shvuah that Avraham used when he caused Eliezer to swear that he would bring him back a wife for his son Yitzchak from one of the family members in Nahor. So Amar le Ravina le Rav Ashi Keman ki Rabbi Chanina bar Idi Domer ba'inon shem hamiyuchad. So Ravina doesn't understand. How can you say that? There's a machlokas between Rabbi Chanina and the Chachamim as to whether when you make a shavua you have to actually use one of Hashem's 7 names that is ineffable outside of saying a bracha, right, or davening, right? And that's what Avraham used. Are you saying that we paskin like Rabbi Chanina that a shavua is only a legal shavua when it uses one of Hashem's ineffable names, and not when you use a kinoi, not when you say Hashem or God instead? But the Chachamim disagree with that. So how can you say that? So Amar lei afilu tema rabbanan da amri bekinoi v'nafkamina detzorach la'atfusei chefze biyadei uchidarava. So he says, no, you didn't understand what I meant. When I invoked Avraham as the exemplar, I wasn't saying that you have to invoke one of Hashem's ineffable names. I was saying that just like Avraham required Eliezer to hold an object of holiness while he was taking the oath, so too when you swear someone in court, they have to be holding a holy object, which we'll see as a Sefer Torah, when they're making the oath to ensure that they don't lie. Now, what was the holy item that Eliezer held on to? That was the Avraham's bris, which we won't go into right now. Da'amar Rava, Hai Dayana Da'ashba B'Hashem Elokei Hashamayim Nasa K'mishata B'Dvar Mishnah V'Chayzer. And as Rava said, that if a Dayan says, I'm not going to make you hold an object, but I will instead make you invoke one of Hashem's ineffable names, that is such a miscarriage of the law, that is such an erroneous judgment, that it's a mistrial. And the case is heard all over again. Va'amar Rav Papa, Hai Dayana Da'ashba B'Tfilin Nasa K'mishata B'Dvar Mishnah V'Chozer. And Rav Papa says even further, even if the judge does require him to hold a holy object, but it's tefillin instead of a Sefer Torah, that too is a mistrial, and you have to retry the case. But v'hilchasa kavasi the Rava, v'les hilchasa kavasi the Rav Papa. But whereas we paskin like Rava, that if there's no holding of an object, there's a mistrial, we don't paskin like Rav Papa, that b'di'evet, if the guy was holding tefillin instead of a Sefer Torah, there's no mistrial. Hilchasa kavasi the Rava, dahalonakit chefze biyadeh. We paskin like Rava because at the end of the day, the guy was not holding on to an object. But v'les hilchasa kavasi the Rav Papa, dahanakit chefze biyadeh. But we don't paskin like Rav Papa because if at the end of the day the guy was holding a holy object, okay, so it was tefillin, it wasn't a Sefer Torah, but still that's sufficient. Now Shavua mu'umad Talmud Chacham miyushav. Now when you forswear the guy, he has to be standing. But if he's a Talmud Chacham, we allow him to be seated. Shavua b'Sefer Torah Talmud Chacham lechatchila b'tefillin. And when you forswear him, he's got to be holding a Sefer Torah. But if he's a Talmud Chacham, we assume he has enough Yiras Shamayim that even if he's holding tefillin, even lechatchila, that's okay for a Talmud Chacham to hold tefillin instead of a Sefer Torah. Have a wonderful day, a good Erev Shabbos.